It's interesting. Jeremy asked about like what metric we might use to decide if this organization is set up to succeed. And the one that came to my head, and I'll have Paul talk a little bit about it, is exposure hours of the executive team. If you could give me literally a measure of how many hours executive team has spent with their fingers on the keyboards, not talking about AI, not just listening to AI, but actually pushing the boundaries, pushing the buttons, I would put my money, that might be the metric I would use to decide if this is going to be and so Paul exposed me to the notion of exposure hours. But I think when we talk about what's different for AI change and leaders, I think this is a key piece.
Yeah, I think it matters a lot. And to your point, Henrik, we think about how that cascades down the organization. Um, I think there could be a few bright lights in terms of champions and how that plays out. I do think at some point you end up with a bit of like a Swiss cheese state at the end of this transformation, which is that if there are certain department leaders that are resisting it, certainly if they're openly resisting it in some capacity, that's going to be a problem for how that then cascades down within their departments. That is like a known challenge. So I do think it starts at the top. It starts at the executive team level. I do think you need to build a strong sponsor coalition across that sort of middle layer of the organization. And champions can carry things, but it's also not their job necessarily to champion this across the whole organization. And I think to Tim's point, the amount that those leaders are engaged with using AI themselves tends to be a good insight, just because they start to see patterns, they start to see what use cases might be tailored for their teams. To me, that's like some of the leading indicators that you see. So I think you really need to think about holistically enabling your leadership level, executives, and that sort of key sponsor coalition level with at least some AI literacy, AI foundations, so that they can start to pattern match, right? How it might apply to their team specifically.